Put very simply, a prototype is a sample of a product or service that is intended to elicit feedback. The means by which the prototype is created is dependent on the sector, intended market, the channel in question, and the viewpoint of the intended recipient. Let's start taking all these components I just listed and start decomposing them. Sample of a product or service. This concept can have different levels of abstraction, but the general intention is understood. You want to create something so that the intended recipient can get the idea of what you're trying to demonstrate, and most importantly, sees an added value in this proposition. Second one would be intended to elicit feedback. This is indeed the next part of the equation. Does your intended audience like your offering? If not, what would they like changed? Do you trust the feedback from this recipient audience? Do the corrective measures tied to the request in question fall in line with the mission, vision, strategy, objective, organizational task domain I was referring to in week 1? If you find no strategic value, and believe me, this is no easy call, how do you deal with the customer and what do you tell them? Intended market, channel in question, and recipient viewpoint. Can you really break this down? How many iterations do we need to clearly identify these elements? Under certain circumstances, the client is so supportive that you don't have to look at the rest. Don't base your strategy on such approach. Of course, the concept of prototyping is not new, but because of the advance of technology, such as additive manufacturing, or you might know it as 3D printing, it is becoming much cheaper and easier to use prototyping as a proper elicitation method. Now we have the possibility to allow the customer to go ahead and manage the exercise themselves. Of course, that raises the question whether such technology will eliminate the need for business analysts before we have a chance to solidify the way that the profession is viewed. Here, if we go back to the competencies I presented in our first week, these are the same needs we've had throughout the ages. The question is how adaptable we are to react to these changes in our environment. And we've already mentioned this as a competency required from a BA, so you're set. Thanks for joining me today for the subject of prototyping, and I'll see you at our next stop.